The Golden State Warriors have had one of the longest standing dynasties, honestly, of all time, right there next to success-wise of obviously the early 60s Celtics, the Jordan Bulls, and the Magic and Kareem Lakers. You know, the Warriors are in that conversation. They actually have a season where they had the best winning record out of all of them at one point. Obviously, they didn't win the championship that year, but that is another accolade that they had. And they won in so many different ways, to a point where you won in 2015 with a pretty much young core of guys. Then you won with obviously Kevin Durant, that addition. You had 4 All-Stars at once in a starting lineup. Then KD leaves, and they're still able to win with kind of younger guys around, but really still the main core that won it in 2015 there. But obviously, last year they had the second round exit to the Los Angeles Lakers, and then this year they're sitting around 500, but it just doesn't really look like they're gelling really well. And I think there's reason to believe that this dynasty is officially coming to an end. I think it pretty much wraps up after this year. I think some of the guys go their separate ways. And I think it kind of moves on, but honestly, if you look at this dynasty, like I said, one of the greatest of all time, but there's a few reasons for their demise. And you know, before I even get into the demise of this Golden State Warriors dynasty, you know, guys, nothing lasts forever, especially in sports. It went on for longer than I thought. I never thought they were going to win in 2022. They found a way to do that. They had guys like Wiggins that stepped up. So in no way am I, trying to sit here and rip what they accomplished from 2015. You could even say it started in 2014, but 2015 to 2024, honestly, it's still kind of in the reign of the dynasty, but obviously it's not going to have the same success. I don't see a way where they get out of the first round this year. Maybe they make it to the second, but I just don't think they have the ability to do that this year, especially in the West. That looks like there's quite a few teams that can compete in the West this year. But yeah, no way in ripping them, just acknowledging how this thing has come to an end at this point. And one of the things you got to point to at first is, Draymond's kind of off his rocker. Now, Draymond's always been kind of, that guy. He's played a key role. He's like the Bill Laimbeer that the Detroit Pistons had back in the day, where he's the aggressor, he's the fall guy, he's gonna, try to fight for his teammates. That's what he does. But this year it's just been a little bit more intense. It seems like every other game that he's playing in, he's doing something that's just a little bit more intense than we've usually seen. Like, one of the games he was trying to choke somebody out on the Kings, I'm pretty sure. Then you had this incident that is getting him suspended for multiple. He seems a bit off the rocker. Some people think it's because Bob Myers' exit as a GM, which I think was also a big, kind of nod that this thing was kind of blowing up and it was kind of towards its end. But Draymond's definitely a key factor to this. And then another one is obviously Clay. Not the same. He wasn't even the same guy in 2022. You can make a case he hasn't been the same guy since the 2019 ACL injury, and then he re-injured it, and I believe he re-injured in 2021 whenever he did. He really hasn't been the same. He's getting up there in age. I thought Clay would be a guy that, would be consistent in the league for a long, long time, but it just doesn't seem like that's translated, not shooting the ball all too well. So yeah, Clay, he's still a guy that, occasionally he can get you. He can hit 5 threes occasionally, but his defense is pretty much shot at this point. He's a spot shooter. Can't really create his own shot. He always was a spot shooter. And when he's not knocking down threes, he's really kind of a liability out there. And then you have to go to their young pieces just didn't materialize. You really first looked at James Wiseman, just wasn't able to put it together. They had to ship him out. I think they took him second overall in a year where their draft pick kind of had to hit, because people were, nervous about that draft pick, because obviously that was the down year where Curry didn't play a lot of the year, KD had just left, and Clay was out the entire season. So he would have been a big piece, but obviously he never materialized. He's not doing too well in Detroit either. They're on their 4-game losing streak. He's not that big of a contributor. And then you go to Jordan Poole, who had really good moments, I feel like, at points where, he showed that, he had a lot of potential, and that, they won a title. And he was actually a pretty viable part to that title in 2022. But obviously him and Draymond had the off-the-court issues. He showed some immaturity, and it just didn't work out, which is pretty much a shame, because he was not that bad with Golden State. He's obviously not playing that well with the Wizards right now. But he was not that bad of a player in their system. And then you have Kuminga, who is on the roster, but we're being honest about Kuminga. He does good things every once in a while, but he has not materialized the way that they thought he was either. So those are key pieces of why this is ending. Obviously, you had the GM moved on as well. Steph Curry, still an amazing talent, still an amazing player. I don't think he'll ever leave Golden State. He seems like like a Kobe type figure where he's going to stay there the whole time, even if it ends up getting bad. But he's still an elite player in my mind. He's still a top 5 talent in my mind. Like, any team would buy a lot of resources to get Steph Curry. So I mean, he can still play, but the team around him is kind of. I didn't like the Chris Paul move. I just didn't think it gelled well with their system. The Warriors need to be a 3-and-D team. They need to be a team that kind of, they already have their kind of guy that slows things down, Draymond. You don't need to slow things down even more with Chris Paul within that system. It's a better fit than like getting Russell Westbrook, yeah, but like I didn't really see the fit there. And it hasn't really been too well. Obviously, they're sitting around, they're 13-14 right now. They're coming off a win against the Celtics that they won. They look decently impressive, but it's really looking like this thing is just not going to work out in the same form anymore. It looks like the dynasty, in my opinion, is complete. Long-lasting dynasty, great run. 3 titles, several trips to the NBA Finals. The winningest regular season of all time, winning before, during, and after Kevin Durant. But at the same time, everything, especially in sports, as I said, does come to an end, and it does look like the Warriors are on their final days of their dynasty, led by Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green.